This is RTV6 News at Noon, working for you.
Thanks for joining us here for the news at noon. I'm Meredith Barrick, and Todd Clausen is in his red polo shirt, which can only mean one thing. It is Friday. Hey, Todd.
Yeah, casual Friday here, and the weather certainly requires short sleeves now, Meredith, as these temperatures have really started warming throughout the course of the morning and now into the early afternoon. Take a look where we stand. 86 degrees already in Indianapolis at this noon hour, 84 in Bloomington, as well as Tipton. Muncie's up to 86, and there is hardly a cloud in the sky. And so these temperatures, they are going to continue to warm. We're just building in these few fair weather clouds right now, and this will be the case throughout the afternoon. But look at all that blue. The one thing we don't have a lot of today still is humidity. So just because the temperatures are a little bit warmer today doesn't necessarily mean that the humidity is back. That will start to climb overnight tonight and throughout the weekend. But today, as far as humidity goes, at least, it's pretty comfortable. Some of you may think it's going to be a little hot, but potentially could be our first 90-degree temperature of the year later on this afternoon. So there is the satellite radar picture, not showing much. There is a little more in the way of cloud cover off to our west with some showers and storms. I think we'll kind of trend partly cloudy throughout the afternoon hours, but high temperatures will be right around that 90-degree mark. Even this evening, if you have plans, we'll be in the 80s until sunset. That's when we cool back off into the 70s. Tomorrow and Father's Day, going to be more muggy and potentially even a little bit warmer for tomorrow as well. We'll talk about that weekend forecast for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Todd, thanks. We'll see you then. The new numbers on COVID-19 are just in from the state health department. The rate of new cases and new deaths continues to appear to be slowing down, at least slightly, in Indiana. Today, 23 new deaths were reported. The number of overall cases was up by 389 as well. Marion County is moving forward today to stage 4 in Governor Holcomb's plan to reopen Indiana. It means restaurants that are already open can increase the amount of people they let inside. Also, bars are allowed to reopen, as well as bar seating in restaurants. Indoor dining capacity can increase as well to 75%. Health officials say the ability for Marion County to enter the next stage is due to everyone playing their part.
Our progress has occurred because the Marion County community has been following the preventative measures that we need in order to safeguard ourselves, our loved ones, our colleagues, and our friends.
Large venues can also reopen today with social distancing guidelines, and gatherings are now allowed to have up to 250 people. Also, bowling alleys, movie theaters, and museums are allowed to reopen with limited capacity. Today was the first day animal lovers could get up close and personal with zoo animals as the Indianapolis Zoo opened its gates for the first time this season. Our Kelsey Anderson was there as the first group got to go in.
That's right. This is the first day that the Indianapolis Zoo is open this season, and they say that the turnout has been pretty good so far. They can have up to 3,000 people comfortably in the zoo at one time on 64 acres. So they're having people come in during time slots every half hour.
It's great to be back at the zoo for this first time, and been dying to get out, so it's super exciting, isn't it?
We usually get a membership every year.
There was a socially distant line this morning to get into the Indianapolis Zoo.
It is a little bit of a different experience this year with having to make appointments and having to come at a certain time.
The zoo is open at a limited capacity. They're only allowing guests to make reservations to come in at designated times. Judy Palermo tells me they are doing the time slots to make sure you can keep your distance while getting into the zoo.
Is to just come in at the time you're asked to come in, and then you can spread out. From there, you can stay at the zoo as long as you want.
Other precautions they have in place are the water fountains are off, and they're asking guests to bring their own reusable water bottles. And at the snack bars, they are only taking card, and zoo employees are also going to be continually cleaning high traffic and high touch areas.
We appreciate that the zoo has opened up as quickly as they have and is willing to make arrangements and use safety measures to make it safe for all the guests.
I'm Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
Oh, that little one there, excited to be at the zoo this afternoon. Kelsey, thank you. Before you or your group go to the zoo, they ask that you do a health check. If anyone is feeling sick or has a fever of 104 or higher, you should stay home. Today is Juneteenth, and following the weeks of protests across the country, the day is getting more recognition this year. Mayor Joe Hogsett and Governor Holcomb are among those issuing proclamations for the day this year. Today is the 155th anniversary of the day in 1865 when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas to let slaves know they were free. It came more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation signed by President Abraham Lincoln had taken effect. To mark the day this afternoon, there will be a What's Next Peace and Reform rally at Kennedy King Park. The group Indie Lawyers for Black Lives will also hold an event this afternoon. Juneteenth is finally being recognized by a growing number of states and companies as a holiday, and there's now a chance it could become a national holiday. Because of the Black Lives Matter movement, more organizations are celebrating the day today. That includes Fortune 500 companies like Uber, Target, JCPenney, Google, Twitter, and Nike. Sports leagues and teams like the Colts, the NFL, NBA also announced that they are recognizing the day. General Motors is marking the day by asking workers to stop work for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That is the length of a time a white Minneapolis police officer knelt on George Floyd's neck before he died. And tonight, an ABC News special looking at the legacy of Juneteenth. The program will examine symbolism in the black community and the nation. A team of correspondents and The View's Whoopi Goldberg will feature the celebrations across the country, as well as share stories of overcoming injustice. The special Juneteenth, A Celebration of Overcoming airs tonight at 8, right here on RTV6.
So what are you going to do about it? Stand up, fight back.
Scenes like this have become a common sight across the country. Up next, we'll show you one group on the south side of Indianapolis fighting for peace and acceptance in their very own backyard. Todd.
And Meredith, temperatures are soaring into the mid-80s already across much of the state of Indiana. We find ourselves in a warm sector of air that's going to carry all the way into the weekend. Not only will the temperatures stay warm, but the humidity, that's about to climb. We'll talk all about it coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast when the news at noon continues right here on RTV6.
There have been many protests across central Indiana for weeks now, but one that happened last night on the south side was personal. There are still parts of the city that are not diverse, one place being the Mars Hill neighborhood. Our Cameron Riddle tells us some of the people who live there are ready to change that.
Mars Hill's had a reputation, just like, you know, Hallville and 42nd and Post and all those places. And, you know, these reputations have been for years, and they're not going to change overnight.
Getting to that change is what this humble group of protesters is aiming to do after an interracial couple moved into the area and, according to protest organizer Elder Tyree Coleman, received a less than warm welcome.
This is happening still today, and it shouldn't happen. You know, the police is called on them for false reasons. They're constantly being harassed when they leave their home, come back to things broken and vandalized, and it just shouldn't happen.
Coleman himself grew up on the south side of Indianapolis and remembers a time when there were places that black and brown people knew better than to visit. He says in some ways those invisible lines are still there.
We could not go to Beech Grove. We barely went to St. Francis Hospital, and we knew that we weren't allowed to go to Garfield Park. We couldn't come down here to Mars Hill.
While the once blatant lines of segregation are now less visible, former independent candidate for mayor and Mars Hill resident John Schmitz says he's using his privilege to stand up against the hate in his backyard.
This is one of my neighbors that just moved in. I can't drive by here every day and see her struggling with this and just turn a blind eye.
Elder Coleman is looking forward to the day when any shade of Hoosier is welcome in every part of Indianapolis.
And I tell people all the time that Indianapolis is really a great place. We have some ugly parts of our past. We have some ugly parts of our present. But when people come together for the greater good, I know that we win.
On the southwest side, Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
Cameron, thank you. They have been silent for months, but the mics are being checked and the lights are about to go on. Coming up, how live entertainment venues are planning to reopen during the pandemic. And we are taking a live look right now over Indianapolis. A few clouds in the sky, but that is not stopping things from heating up. Meteorologist Todd Clausen will have your full weekend forecast coming up here on the news at noon on RTV6.
800-850-5054.
A reminder, RTV6 is teaming up with Kroger and you to give back to the community. You still have a few days to round up your grocery bill or select a donation amount when you check out at 46 participating Kroger locations. The money will go directly to the nonprofit group Second Helpings, which specializes in feeding our neighbors in need. RTV6 and the Scripps Howard Foundation will match up to $12,000 in donations. Our fundraiser continues at Kroger stores through this Sunday. You can also donate by going to the IndyChannel.com. And Todd, I have a feeling grocery stores are going to be awfully crowded this weekend. A lot of people may be picking up some things to grill out, or maybe just a cold one because it's going to be really hot out there.
I would agree with both of those things. You gotta, keep your thirst down and grilling out with Dad. Father's Day, yeah, it's going to be a great day to do that. I think as we get into Father's Day, or whether you choose to do it tonight or tomorrow, whatever's in your plans. But yeah, grocery store is probably going to be busy, and of course, that is great cause. Second Helpings here in Central Indiana. We actually need a little bit of rainfall, and we have some in the forecast as we get into Father's Day. I know the timing on that is not great, but look at that. We're almost 1.5 inches below where we should be for just the month. And now most of Central Indiana is under the abnormally dry category by the drought monitor here. And if we don't get a whole lot, I would suspect when this comes out next week that some areas would be under the moderate drought. I know I watered my lawn a little bit here this morning. This afternoon, we're building in the cumulus clouds, as you can see, as we look from downtown to the north. And we'll kind of turn things partly cloudy here going forward throughout the remainder of the day. But look at some of these temperatures already at the noon hour. 86 in Indy, 87 in Kokomo, 86 in Muncie, and 84 in Bloomington. We warmed really, really quickly throughout the morning hours. And now that we're building in some more in the way of cloud cover, probably won't see the temperatures continue to rise as quick, but we will continue to go up another couple degrees. The good news is the dew points today are still in the 50s and 60s. That's a very comfortable category. So while it is the warmest day of the week, temperature-wise, that doesn't necessarily mean just because the high temperature is warmer that the humidity comes up. It's still pretty dry out there. But highs should be in the 90s today in many locations, right around 90 degrees in Indianapolis. And as we go throughout the afternoon hours, as I mentioned, we'll build in the clouds. I can't completely rule out the chance of an isolated sprinkle. If we did see that, it would be on the far western portion of the state, just a little bit closer to some of the shower activity in this front that is lingering off to our west. But that's a very slow-moving front, so it doesn't really impact us until Sunday. That's when we're going to start to bring some of the showers and thunderstorms into the forecast. So whether you're doing things with Dad today, or maybe you have a tea time tomorrow instead of Sunday, tomorrow it's warm to start. We're in the mid-70s already at 8 a.m. High temperatures tomorrow into the low 90s for most locations. And tomorrow, the only threat of rainfall is really, really late in the day. So tomorrow is a dry day. It's just hot. It's a little more humid. Father's Day itself, we get up to 89 degrees. The humidity comes up, and that's when we'll start to bring in better chances of scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. It's not a washout, so if you do have tea times or you're grilling out with Dad on the Sunday, don't cancel those as of yet, but just go into whatever event you're doing knowing that there will be the potential for some storms, and you may have to alter things a little bit, but not everybody is going to get into the rain on Sunday. Then storm chances continue for Monday and Tuesday before the front goes through. Once that front is through, you'll see temperatures are going to cool off into the lower 80s for Wednesday and Thursday. The humidity will come back down as well. So overall, Meredith, it's a pretty hot weekend. The humidity comes up, and just be on the lookout for a few of those storms Sunday afternoon and evening.
All right, Todd, thank you. Well, one place that people often seek relief from the heat is movie theaters. They are slowly starting to come back following the COVID-19 pandemic. The IMAX Theater at the Indiana State Museum says it will reopen next Friday, June 26th, with social distancing regulations in place. Down in Franklin, the historic Artcraft Theater is also coming back soon. The theater says it will reopen on July 3rd. The featured film will be Space Jam. Among the last businesses to be reopening in Indiana are those with live entertainment like theaters and concert halls. As our Brad Brown reports, the shows will go on, but if you're ready for a night out, expect things to be quite a bit different inside.
For the past 3 months, stages all over the Hoosier State have been silenced. This weekend, the comeback tour begins.
Judging by ticket sales so far, we've already sold half the tickets for Saturday night. So people are ready to get out, and I think if we're doing it safely and doing it by the book, then we're going to be just fine.
The Hi-Fi in Fountain Square will be among the first to resume live concerts. Among the new COVID-19 protocols, masks are required for entry, touchless payments at the bar, and just 50% capacity. Only 200 tickets will be sold for these first concerts.
None of us had ever been through this before. There's no playbook for this. And we work with a lot of venues nationally, too, to take best practices and learn from everybody else what they're doing, venues that have already opened, and how to, properly add all these new safety procedures and things like that, because seeing a show is going to be a little bit different.
For these small venues, any shows will be a much-needed boost to a year that was pretty much wiped out by acts and tours canceling for the rest of 2020.
I think the experience from entering into the show is going to have a little bit different feeling, and it's something to get used to. I think we're like this for a while, so once fans get used to it, it'll be fine.
We just went from, trying to be as busy as we could possibly be to just cramming the brakes and flying through the windshield, and it's been insane.
At the historic Vogue Theater in Broad Ripple, next weekend will mark their first live event after a 14-week layoff. They've used the time to make updates inside for new social distancing protocols.
Just creating opportunities for everybody to spread out and feel safe, and I think that if and when things get back to normal, that extra space will benefit us down the road, but that's going to be a huge help to us in the short term.
The past 3 months have been a trial in simply surviving for small venues like these all over Indiana.
It's all going to boil down to the fans. If the fans don't buy tickets and come back, it doesn't matter who we have on the stage. It doesn't matter what we do.
There's just all these little moments that kind of happen throughout the night. I think that's going to come back immediately. I just might be wearing a mask while I'm doing it, and that's okay.
There's so many little wrinkles of the live aspect of a concert that you just can't get with a sterile live stream, and we hope that people still remember that, still love that, and I don't think any of us want to live in a world without that.
Working for you, Brad Brown, RTV6.
Bars and nightclubs can go to full capacity in Phase 5 of the governor's Back on Track plan. That is scheduled for July 4th, but each venue is on its own agenda as to what it will look like. So you should check websites and Facebook pages for information on a specific location before you head out. It is a warm Friday and a hot weekend is on the way. This is a live look over Lucas Oil Stadium for your Friday afternoon. Still ahead, we've got one more check of your Storm Team 6 forecast with Todd. You're watching the news at noon on RTV6.
Easy, even Petey can do it.
You've heard countless stories about separation because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, this story is about coming together. Dan and Shirley Braubeck were college sweethearts. They were almost inseparable, even after Shirley was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. But the pandemic forced them to be separated because of restrictions on visitors at the nursing home in Sarasota, Florida, where Shirley is being treated. But this week was Dan and Shirley's 69th wedding anniversary, and the nursing facility had a surprise for the couple. They arranged for a short in-person visit as safely as possible.
First time I've held hands with her, even through 5 layers of plastic. I love her. She's my whole life. And until she passes away, she will always be my whole life.
Oh, Dan is about to turn 90, and while he loved the anniversary gift, he says he can't wait for his next visit with his homecoming queen. Man, they had to get me to tear up one more time this week, Todd. This has been as sad as so many stories out of COVID-19, this pandemic have been. There have been so many beautiful stories just like this one. So that's a great way to end our week.
Yeah, and it's great to see those beautiful stories come out of what has been a rough go of it here over the past few months across not only the country, but the world as well. All right, Meredith, here is a bright spot in the forecast. That's some sunshine today and tomorrow. A little cloudier and better chance of storms on Father's Day, but we're going to deal with some heat today, tomorrow, and into the middle of next week.
Todd, thank you, and thank you for making RTV6 your choice for news. We hope to see you back here at 5. Have a great weekend and a great Father's Day.